You know, when we think about how the universe started, our minds usually jump to the Big Bang, right? This single tiny point exploding outward. But what if that's not the whole story? What if creation started not with a bang, but with a tear in something that was already there? Today, we're going to dive into a cosmological theory from an Islamic perspective that completely flips the script on how our universe was born and how it's all put together. And right off the bat, this theory challenges our entire sense of scale. It asks us to stop and think. Is our entire universe, with its billions and billions of galaxies, just a tiny little patch on some unimaginably bigger cosmic fabric? Seriously, that one idea is the key to understanding this entire incredible model we're about to unpack.
الرجاء الاشتراك في قناة المستشار الحر.
Okay, so let's get into it. Our story of creation, in this view, doesn't start with an explosion. It starts with a tear. The whole foundational concept here is that creation wasn't about making something from absolute nothing, but about mending something that was, well, torn.
So forget everything you know about a singularity. In this model, before our universe even existed, there was this immense, timeless reality. The source calls it the abode of eternity, or my favorite, the great fabric. Just try to picture that. It's like the ultimate canvas for all of creation.
Now here's the central mechanism, the engine of this whole idea. The theory says that a Fataq, which means a tear, actually happened in this great fabric, and this rupture was then mended with a Ratq, which is like a patch. And get this, according to this view, our entire known universe was made from that one single patch.
And this idea isn't just pulled out of thin air. The scriptural anchor for it comes from this very verse in Surah Al-Anbiya. The interpretation here is that it's describing the heavens and the earth as a single joined entity, a Ratq, that was then separated or torn apart, a Fatq, to form the cosmos as we know it. Okay, so if the universe is a patch, what was created first? Now this is where the model gets really interesting, and maybe a little counterintuitive to what you might think. It argues that the earth was actually formed before the heavens.
And this sequence is drawn right from verses like these in Surah Al-Baqarah and Surah Fussilat. Both of them are interpreted here to be describing the creation of everything on earth first, and only then came the fashioning of the seven heavens from a substance that's described as smoke.
So if our universe was born from a patch, with earth formed first, what does the whole thing look like? What's the blueprint? This brings us to the architecture of what the source calls the small universe, which is a term they use to distinguish our little patch from that greater abode of eternity we talked about earlier. This model lays out a very distinct layered structure. Think of it like climbing a cosmic ladder. Starting at the bottom, you have the 7 adjacent worlds, and our world is just one of those. As you go up, you pass through the 7 heavens. Above all of them, then a cosmic layer of water. And finally, you reach the ultimate ceiling of creation, the Arsh, or the throne. And if you thought the layers were cool, the scale of this place is it's truly mind-boggling. According to a hadith of Ibn Masud, the distance between each one of those heavens is a 500-year journey. The gap between the very top heaven up to the water, you guessed it, 500 more years. We're talking about a scale that is just so hard to wrap your head around. Okay, so this all leads us to the final and maybe the most fascinating piece of this whole theory. It actually tries to connect this entire layered structure we just built to a very specific, very large number mentioned in the Qur'an, and it does it with a pretty remarkable calculation.
So there's this verse in Surah Al-Ma'arij, and it talks about a divine day, a day whose measure is 50,000 years. It's describing a journey for angels and the spirit. So the big question is, how in the world does the cosmic model we've just laid out, how does it account for that exact number?
All right, get ready for a little cosmic math. Here is exactly how the theory breaks it down. It suggests that above the 7 heavens we already mentioned, there are another 7 cosmic layers to cross. Based on its interpretation, it gives a journey time of 7,000 years to get through each of those layers. So 7 layers times 7,000 years. That gets you to 49,000 years. Then you add a final journey of 1,000 years to travel from that top layer through the water to the throne itself.
And what's the grand total? Boom! Exactly 50,000 years. So in this interpretation, the physical structure of this small universe perfectly corresponds to the spiritual journey described in the Qur'an. It creates this amazingly cohesive and interconnected model where everything just fits.
So, we're left with this final, and honestly pretty humbling thought. then our entire incomprehensibly massive universe is just one of 7 adjacent worlds, all tucked away beneath layers and layers of heavens. So what then is the true scale of all creation? It's the kind of question that really pushes the limits of your imagination.